Hi, my name is Sana and welcome back to the Hip and Cool podcast. I have just been really reflecting over the past months since October 7th and seeing the way that Palestine has been struggling has made me think a lot. And I hope that it's been making you think a lot as well. And if it hasn't, I hope that by sharing a bit of the things that I've been reading over the past couple of months and also my lived experience can help someone want to become aware of what's going on. You know what I mean? Because I'm not necessarily going to be delving into what's going on in Palestine right now, but I am going to be talking about why you should care and why we as a collective, people who have become so accustomed to the way information is shared to us, why our attention at this time is very important. Very, very important. So I hope that everyone is doing well. I want to say thank you once again for the love on the previous episodes. I am so very grateful for anyone who is deciding to tune in and join the Hip and Cool podcast family. Please, come one, come all. We accept everyone here. It is all about showing up as you are around here. The reason why I decided to talk about this topic was because I saw my friend post on an Instagram about how previously she had felt a bit of resistance towards looking and seeing atrocities. She expressed it in the description that there was this kind of mindset that was just like, oh, ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean? And that, I feel like for many of us, is coming from this kind of feeling that we don't really want to come to terms with the fact that we live in a world that, is actively harming itself in whichever way, whatever country, whatever way that is, even in an individual level. Like even from 2 episodes ago where I was talking about toxic shame, we actively get in our own way. But then on a grander scale, people who are harming others, that's hard to reconcile with, because it's already difficult to reconcile your own depression, your own anxiety, blah, blah, blah. But then have to consider outside of yourself and be present with that, even when you can't even be present in yourself, it's tough. And so reading her description of, kind of why she's kind of changed her mind and her thoughts about what's been going on in the world, it made me think about how I engage in the world and how I've seen other people engage in the world as a result of being connected in this way to technology, and also being presented with so much more information than we would had we lived in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 90s even. So this week's topic is going to be our collective desensitization of violence in the world. So I thought to make a little bit of a disclaimer. These are all my opinions. I see the world in my own way. I'm always open to question how I see the world. So if you have a different approach, if you see the world differently, or if you want to share how you feel about this whole situation, because I feel like there aren't very many forums online to be this is how I feel about the atrocities, blah, blah, blah. Definitely with kindness towards the people that it's affecting the most. Definitely, let's not be insensitive. But if you've been having a lot on your chest and you don't really know how to express yourself about what's been going on, my comment section is open. Just talk about how you've been feeling. Talk about what your opinions are about your maybe own biases and your own desensitizations or your own habits that you've noticed in yourself. Please share with us how you've been kind of navigating having beliefs, being an activist in your own way, while also trying to find peace as well, because I think there's space for both in your body. I definitely think so. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is information overload and doom scrolling. So I made an essay about this in college, and I was pulling from that a bit here. So the definition of information overload is the overwhelming amount of content that's shown to users in a single session of scrolling on their social media platform of choice. So, let's say you're on TikTok and you're just like, oh, this is a really nice recipe for chicken parm. Oh, like this is like a fashion tips video. Oh, like this is like a really violent video of someone getting like, racially profiled. And then you go straight back to, oh, that's a really cute pets video. It's kind of just this, at least how I express that I feel it, is that I feel like whiplash almost. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And in a way, I was like, this is not normal. Like when I wrote the essay, I felt super adamant on expressing that this is not a normal way to go about like digesting information, because at least like in an analog way, you can go into a newspaper, there's a section for fashion, there's a section for this, so like, and there's a section for comics, like every little situation you were kind of prepared beforehand before you got to see that. Whereas now when you're on TikTok, depending on what people kind of have a general sense of what's going to be on their For You page, because they're like, oh, well, you know what, I like this stuff, so, and I already like clicked don't want to see if I see something. So you kind of have a general sense of like what's going to be on your For You page. But in general, you kind of just are presented with something, not really with any warning, with any kind of like pretense to be like, oh, this next video is going to be about fashion. This next video is going to be about this. Like, are you opting in or opting out of that? Blah, blah, blah. And so you can go and click in the search bar, like videos of pets dancing, videos of this, or blah, blah, blah. Like you can tailor your For You page, and you can actively search and be an active participant on these websites. But when it comes to like the timeline's going to show you whatever, you know what I mean? And then doom scrolling is the tendency to continue to surf or scroll through bad news, even though that news is saddening, disheartening, or depressing. And that kind of goes back into what I was saying about how we are just scrolling past all these different things, including the very disheartening, disappointing news. And that inadvertently leads to desensitization. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this quote from my essay that I got from Huffington Post. Katie Day Good, an assistant professor of strategic communication at Miami University, expressed that social media can desensitize us to tragedies by presenting us with too much information. And since we don't always have enough time to digest one story before another one breaks, we can sometimes end up feeling emotionally numb, helpless, and immobile. The ubiquitous nature of social media and apps and the phones, and just the fact that they're like literally everywhere, has made it seem as though certain things are normal when they're not. It's kind of like, whoa, this like really like tough topic is happening, and when it's sandwiched in between so much other stuff, A, is this really that big of an issue? And B, if it is, I can't really grasp the gravity of it, because it's, like I said, sandwiched in between so much stuff, and also because it's shown to you over and over and over again, and the internet sometimes doesn't feel real. There is a distance in a way, because there are like times when it isn't real, like AI especially now coming up, and all of these different like filters and things that are altering reality. Yes, but underneath all of that, there is still reality. And like I said, healthy like media consumption will help to maybe bridge the gaps between what is real and what is like, kind of not fluff, but because fluff is important too. I think I still like watching fashion videos and still like watching like funny animal videos or whatever, but there still is space to be had for the more serious and hard-hitting like topics and videos that are on the internet. It definitely can be overwhelming, right? And some choose to fully ignore what's going on, and many of us feel numb to it, and others can like break under the weight of the world and be like, oh my God, the world is like crumbling among us and we're gonna die, blah, blah, blah. Something I want to hammer home is this is not a moral failing. We all want to be happy. If waking up And scrolling on TikTok before you do your 12-hour shift at a hospital is a way for you to unwind. It's a way for you to unwind. Even with things such as like the boycott, a lot of people have been urging the public to look at boycott lists and try to manage their consumption better, so that they are not supporting any companies that are supporting genocide in Palestine. And a lot of people have been voicing how it's been difficult because they're like, well, maybe the Starbucks is the only thing that's closest to my house, and that's the thing that like helps me unwind. Like my cup of coffee is just my thing that I need to do every day, and that's just like my own like little routine that like keeps me in check a bit. And I don't think it's a bad thing that people have small tethers to the real world that keep them feeling sane and like human beings in this world. You know what I mean? And in a way, it's not a bad thing to just want some time to yourself, some space to just get back in your body after a long day or before a long day, or just like dealing with life in general. All these apps, all these stores, all these brands are just fighting for our attention at the end of the day, though. And I want you to know that you have so much more control than you think you do. A lot of people are like, I need this. And like, if I don't, like, look at that whole Stanley Cup thing with like Starbucks. It's like we're losing third spaces. So many of us are estranged from one another. Like especially if you live in like the Midwest suburbs, and even if you live in like a place like New York City, there's this like idea that even if you live in New York City, you're so like connected to one another. You can be, but it also is difficult, especially with the lack of third spaces, which is like you have your home, your work, but a third space is somewhere else you go to kind of convene with your community for free. You don't really have to pay for anything, or it's very cheap to be there. With the increase of like pricing and everything for things, it's difficult to find time to unwind outside of paid things like going to a cafe and buying some Starbucks, or going to this place and buying this thing, or going to Target and getting your Stanley Cup. It's like people are trying to find things that connect them to the world in some way, you know, give them some kind of sense of community. And it's difficult to find that, especially nowadays. And I don't think it's a moral failing, and nothing's like inherently wrong with us. That is our body like aching for like love. We just want to honestly love each other. And that's not a bad thing. That is your body telling you that you are like, you desire closeness. You want to have some type of belonging. There's nothing more human than that. There is nothing more human than that. But on the idea of having control, I wanted to mention the book All About Love by Bell Hooks once again. I feel like I'm just an all about love, power of now, and radical intimacy like spokesperson at this point. I'm just like talking about it. Also a bit of a warning, I want to say, or a caution to people who maybe from my recommendation are reading The Power of Now or listening to the audiobook. I want to let you know his views on gender are a little bit outdated. I was listening to his the most recent chapter I was listening to was on like relationships, and he was talking a lot about men and women. So if you're listening to that and you're like, and what he's saying just doesn't resonate with you at all, you know, just understand the timing in which the book was written. I think it was written about the 80s, A, and B, I feel like that book is not a book you really try to understand. I think that book is more something you try to just feel in a way. So instead of listening to his words, I would say, or trying to understand his words, more try to feel what he's trying to get at, not really what he is saying. And he said that in the book multiple times. Stop trying to understand what I'm trying to say. Stop trying to understand my words and just feel it. So yeah, definitely gave me a jump scare on the train. I was like, oh, he's talking about gender in this very strange way that is like not how I interact with gender at all. But anyway, bell hooks. So the chapter I'm going to be mentioning is the one entitled Values, Living by a Love Ethic. This chapter was very important to me, and I was just underlining so much in it because I think that I really, really would love to learn what it truly means to live by a love ethic. And I think the reason why I love this book so much is it makes love an action as opposed to just this random thing that like can't be touched on, right? It can't be touched. It can't be, conceptualized. Like, no, love is something you actively give to others and you can actively be receiving. In understanding that love is an action, you can then take more responsibility for it, right? You can't, because like if you talk about love as though it's this like airy thing that no one can touch, you don't really have to take responsibility. You can be like, well, I didn't love it, so I can just let it go. It's like, what? You owe respect to even a dog. You owe respect to even a dog. And I don't think that this whole notion of just like, oh, we don't owe each other anything really does much. It only estranges us from each other more, even though we are such social beings. So kind of trying to engage in the world in this way of like, oh, I don't owe anybody anything. I can kind of do whatever I want. I either love this or I don't. And it's like, no, you need to take responsibility for your actions and actively be a member of life. That's what I think. And that's what Bell Hooks thinks. So you can choose to disagree. This is just what I think. A love ethic presupposes that everyone has the right to be free, to live fully and well. Right? We all have this idea in our mind, right, of a person who's an activist. Oh my God, they're like super stoic. They're super, angry all the time, blah, blah, blah. Which is like, first of all, if you're angry about what's going on in the world, like most likely that's not a, bad thing. I mean, like to be consumed in anger is different. But like if you're like upset about what's going on in the world, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's false, Bell Hooks says, to believe that ethical behavior takes the fun out of life. And in actuality, living ethically ensures that relationships in our lives, including encounters with strangers, nurture our spiritual growth, which is love in and of itself. So in the very beginning of the book, she makes sure to say that love is when you're nurturing the spiritual growth of someone. That is what love is. It's an action that you do to nurture the spiritual growth of someone. That's what love is in her words. And like I said, if an activist is upset about the injustice going on in the world or the systems that are actively committing atrocities in the world, you can transmute that anger into love by engaging in the world through a love ethic, right? Don't give up on people, even when it's tough. There really is no you versus me. And I'm not even talking about some kind of kumbaya, like I don't see color type of situation. No, that's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to express that in the world, it's so much more productive, I think, to see people who have gone off the deep end as people who have gone off the deep end, right? And not people who are like born evil or born like this way, Like there is room, I think, to reprimand people and to chastise them for their atrocities and the things that they've done and to punish them even. Like if you are committing atrocities, no, I can't be like kumbaya with you. No. But I think it's also worth your own mental health in a way to be like, this is just a human being who has gone off the deep end for whatever reason. They were taught to believe X, Y, and Z. They sat down in a classroom, or they were taught by their friends and family growing up that this is just the way. And no, it also isn't the job of the oppressed to sit down and be like, okay, well, let me teach you about why I deserve rights. Like, no, it's also not the job of the oppressed to do that work. But I don't think in general you should give up hope as an oppressed person or as anyone in this world seeing anything, seeing any injustice, even if it isn't to your own group of people or your own people that you identify with, you don't have to lose hope. It can be very easy though. It's very easy to lose hope and just be like, I'm going to opt out. The weight of the world can be very difficult to bear, but you're not alone. You really aren't by yourself, and it can feel that way, but there are people you can talk to, whether it be online or in person. There are people organizing. You have forums to speak about these things. And I'm going to lay one out for you. This is a forum. This is a forum. The Hip and Cool podcast comment section channel, just this is a space. This is a way of organizing for me to express and hopefully change some people's minds about why activism and why caring in and of itself is important. Attention is so important. Like where you choose to put your attention is so important. Where you choose to put your money, where you choose to, which is also your attention. Because like by paying for something, that means you are putting your attention onto something through giving it monetary like value. Because even if something says $3 on it, you're putting your valuable $3 into something, that you are putting your attention into that. And that's what like Eckhart Tolle was talking about too. Just like your attention is like the most important thing. What you choose to give attention to is paramount. And I'm urging you to show up as that better, hope for better, and show up as that better. Show your body that you are that better, right? Living by a love ethic, we learn to value loyalty and a commitment to sustained bonds over time. Oh my God, I want to learn that. Once I wrote in the book, I was like, I want to learn this. Because like so many times are we taught that this is a dog eat dog world. Like I'm so sensitive, and at work I'm just like, well what about this? And then like, I get sometimes that I can be very sensitive, but in a way I never want to think of it as a hindrance. It definitely has gotten me into very many holes, I won't lie, but I don't think that being in tune with your emotions is a bad thing. Letting them consume you is one thing. Like we're not talking about that. But if you are in tune to your emotions and just like understanding how something's making your body feel, it's not a bad thing. It's about how you transmute it. We're going to talk about Eckhart Tolle, transmuting those negative emotions into actionable change, transmuting those negative emotions into things that make you the person that you are. Not even that you want to be, that you already are. Whoever you want to be is already living inside of you. You just have to step into that. Come on now. And these are not things that are easy to unlearn either. Like, to sit down and just be like, yeah, I'm just suddenly not individualistic, or suddenly I just don't care about getting my money up, not my funny up. Like, are you kidding me? It's in America, New York City, whatever, living in a place that is constantly telling you that it's you against everybody. It's not an easy thing to just suddenly be like, oh, well, like, yeah, I'm suddenly going to be like organizing now. Like, you got to like actually care. And that's what I'm like urging right now. I'm like trying to urge you to care about these things, right? Bell Hooks says, behaving unethically with no thought to the consequences of our actions is a bit like eating tons of junk food. While it may taste good in the end, the body is never really adequately nourished and remains in a constant state of lack and longing, right? So if you're conscious that what you're doing is not really creating the world that you even want to see, that at the end of the day is just going to keep you in this state of just, where is this closeness that I want to feel? Where is this closeness I want to feel? Because at the end of the day, no matter how rich you are, no matter how successful you are by like society's standards, you're still going to be a human being in this world who thrives on social interaction. That's just who we are as people. And there's nothing wrong with us as we are, right? But understanding that you don't live in this world alone. People who talk about themselves being self-made, the clothes you wear, the phone you use, Even if you want to talk about the phone you use, what's going on in the DRC, in the Congo, people are literally dying so that we can use phones. The thing that I'm recording on right now, my cell phone, computers, you know what I mean? You cannot sit here and say you're self-made, right? And discredit everyone that's ever gotten you anywhere when it's literally down to the things you use on a daily basis, right? We are not alone. And the earth is proof of that. The earth is proof of that. Like, walk outside. Just because the person next to you looks like they didn't, that person next to me didn't do nothing for them. Like, no. Look deeper. Look deeper. You are not alone. You might feel alone sometimes, but you're never truly alone. To quote Bell Hooks for the last time in this episode, this is what made me think about Palestine in general. She wrote, we claim to be loving religious individuals and yet collectively remain unable to embrace a love ethic and allow it to guide our behavior, especially if doing so would mean supporting radical change, right? And then I was watching Attack on Titan. Because look, art imitates life. And, Armin was talking in the episode and he was like, you know what? We have to give up some comfortability to see some like actual change. And I was like, wow. And I was like, it really was profound to me at that time, because I was like, there's so much going on in the world. And a lot of people kind of are like, well, I can't give this up. I can't give this up. And like I said earlier, this is not a moral failure. It's not your fault that we are so attached to our devices. It's not your fault that you just want some rest at the end of the day, or you wanted to sip your coffee or whatever. It's not a bad thing that you found affinity with something in this world. If you find yourself feeling stuck, and you're like, I really want to see change in this world. I am so disappointed at the way that the world is working. And you find yourself going down those mental paths. You gotta realize that there's some things that gotta give. Something's gotta give. Even if it just starts small with your morning coffee. Maybe learn how to make coffee at home. Maybe this will be an opportunity to, show you a new appreciation for making coffee at home, right? Because everything's so automated nowadays. You're like, oh, I can just order this on my phone and go get it. Maybe after making coffee at home, you then realize, oh, well, now I have a new appreciation for this. Like, oh, maybe I can get an espresso maker and like learn, the ins and outs of things on your own. Like, I think gaining a new appreciation for something and gaining a new appreciation for like how slowly things actually take to do will be actually a new experience for you, and will only, I feel like, be fruitful for you in the end of the day, right? Because even though, yes, your morning coffee is fruitful for you already and also gives you a great feeling, leaning into something that you never even thought you would lean into, like making coffee from scratch, probably will introduce you to a whole new world that you never even like would have considered looking into, if not for your switching from going to Starbucks to making things at home. You know what I mean? I think that just like there are ways that you can change things and make it still wonderful for you and the world, Is there hope? Is there hope? Yes. The answer is yes. Me and my homies, me and Kayla, and many of my homies, we think there's hope. We as a collective, armed with the knowledge that we have now, should try to be a bit more present with this heartening news. Be present. Read the news. Watch some of the videos at your own pace. See how it makes your body feel, right? When you feel like you're about to scroll away, be like, okay, I just saw something that upsets me, or I just read about something that really upsets me, just heard something that really upsets me. sit with it. There's no need to like zoom past it. There's no need to just like instantly try to like make yourself happy to replace that sad feeling. Sit with that. Like really, really sit in what it means to be upset about something going on in the world. Where in your body do you feel it? There's no need to fear it. It's your body. Your body's there. Your feelings and your emotions and like your way your body reacts are there to teach you things about yourself so you can transmute it. I'm still going back into Eckhart Tolle. Transmute it. And if you feel upset about it, that's probably telling you something too. What about it are you upset about, right? Ask yourself what questions, not why, what. What is going on in my body? What is it that upset me? What did I see? What patterns am I seeing that my body tends to react to, right? Is it maybe, graphic imagery? Is it the words? Is it the concept that something bad is going on while you may be happy and disregarding what's going on? What is it that upsets you? Is it not anger? Maybe it's like you're feeling a completely different feeling. Still negative. Maybe it's nausea. Write about it. Talk about it to a friend. Comment in my comment section about it. Like, you have resources. Pen and paper for me is very helpful. Pen and paper, man. If you then realize, you know what? I've written about it, or I've thought about it, or I've talked to someone about it, and I really, really, really want to start to try and live by a love ethic in its most elementary phases, right? You really want to try your shot at it. You really want to. Try to stay informed at your own pace, right? Stay informed. And naturally, you're going to come across people virtue signaling and being like, if you scroll away, you're a demon. Like, okay, relax. Okay, like there are some people out there who will make you feel bad for whatever. And that's what virtue signaling is. Making themselves look better by shaming someone else. You know what I mean? Like, I am on my high horse. Like, no one cares about you on your high horse. There are people who are going through atrocities. Like, can you please like stop trying to promote your song right now? There's just so much controversy right now on TikTok. It's just like, bro, why can't we, like, people using a tragedy in order to like make themselves look good. That's also what happened at the BLM in 2020. Like, find people who actually care about what's going on, right? Keep yourself informed by people who actually care about what's going on, not about people who are trying to somehow make a platform from this, like Sean King. Like, no, don't follow Sean King. He is not the person you want to be hearing preach about these things. You know what I mean? Follow people who are there in the scene, people who are in the DRC and the Congo, right? People who are in Palestine, they're reporting. Try to find like sources that are not trying to use this as a means to benefit, right? Even things like Talk for Palestine. Like, I will leave resources in the description, like, so you can get started on like trying to find like real people who are actually talking about these things and not like, oh my God, follow my this. Like, no. People who are trying their best to show the realness and not the fakeness that I was talking about earlier. Even during BLM, people were like showing all these different like imagery of people on the street. And it was just like, you gotta learn the difference between learning about an issue, keeping informed, versus fetishizing death. So yeah, I think that goes back into practicing media literacy and learning the difference between what people are showing you. Like, oh, is this person virtue signaling right now? Is this person trying to like get on a high horse? Oh, is this person like just sharing facts and like trying to like inform me? Oh, is this person just like really just fetishizing the death of these people right now? Maybe I should more lean towards like this type of media. I'm able to stomach it a bit better, and I still feel like I'm able to create actionable change through looking at these things. I don't need to look at, X, Y, and Z to understand that this is a problem. Definitely leave your comments below on how you feel about seeing like more graphic imagery and such. I still don't know how I feel about it, and I don't know how to approach even talking about that. But if you have any like thoughts on that, definitely leave some below, because I'm very interested to hear what people think about that. Yeah, and like, do you feel like it's necessary and you really think it's important that people see exactly what's going on so that they can be radicalized? Or do you think that, like, here and there it's okay, but other times it's like, it's all right to not be shown that? I don't know. Last but not least, what I've been kind of saying this whole episode, your knowledge and understanding of issues, once you choose to live by a love ethic, not only just like colloquially in your community or small form everyday life, but in a grander scale, right? Once it goes from like the small scale to like bigger, it should lead you to some type of like action, right? And I'm going to list them right now. Sharing books and information with friends and family, as I'm trying to do right now, right? Creating art, watching where you put your money. Like I said, your money is your attention and your attention is your money. So being mindful of where you choose to spend your money is very important. And, putting your money where your mouth is, keeping up to date and doing your homework on what people are doing to support the cause and offering to help monetarily, maybe by purchasing eSIMs for people who are down in Gaza who don't have internet, because right now they are experiencing high volumes of no internet at all, and their internet signal is being completely blocked. Donating to bail funds for protesters. So let's say a protester gets arrested. If you donate to a bail fund, people can use that money to help bail people out of jail. Using TikTok audios and effects for free to donate. There's so many TikTok audios. You got to do your homework though, because some of them are fake and some people are using the situation to get money, like I said before. So make sure you click the effect, click who created the effect. Just doing your due diligence is very important. Every time I see that someone posted a video with an effect, I click it, record the video, and I just post it on private. Like, it's so simple, very easy. 1, 2, 3. It's free. If you have a phone, you can do it. And there are people who are showing the proof that they're donating as well. Going to protests, making infographics and posting them around the city, talking to your coworkers about what's going on in the world, I think by engaging in some actionable change, like actionable, because it's really easy to feel small. I get it. It is. It's very easy to feel small, especially with that whole money thing. It's like a lot of people are like, well, if I stop eating from McDonald's or if I stop drinking Starbucks, that's not really going to make a difference. But especially if so many people do it at once, it really does make a difference. And by you thinking that your small dollar doesn't make any difference, you're, denying that you matter. You are a person who matters in this world. Yes, you matter. Yes, you matter. Yes, you can make change. Yes, you can do some actionable good in the world. Like, you are a human being. Like, sit with that. Like, you are human. You are awesome. You are amazing just because you're here. Like, getting up and breathing is a flex. It really is. And we gotta start acting like it. We really do gotta start acting like it. Like, it's the little things, man. It really is. That makes such a big difference. That's all I've got for today. That's all I've got for today. For today. I am so grateful for everyone who is listening to the Hip and Cool podcast and making it a part of their day, part of their week, what have you. Thank you so, so much for tuning in once again, and choose love always. Bye.